Hey everyone, it's Naomi Wolf of Daily Clout and Outspoken. And it's been a little while. I think we're unbanned for the time being on YouTube. So that's exciting. They last banned us for my video on oregano oil. But I want to read you my latest Substack essay called Dear Team Trump, Don't Spike the Football, quote unquote. Subtitle is rather Balance the Language and Walk Through the Biggest Ever Open Door. And, those of you who follow my work know that I used to be a political consultant for the Clinton team, their reelection campaign, and for Gore 2000. So I can't help that kind of political consulting part of my brain kick in when I watch campaigns and then governing, because good governing is also campaigning. So this was my advice. This is my advice as I observe this incredible potential realignment and encourage both MAGA and MAHA not to waste the incredible opportunity that this represents. So below is my latest unsolicited letter to the MAGA MAHA comms, meaning communications and leadership team. Yes, it is a new day in America. Yes, President Trump won an historic victory. Millions of citizens with eyes and cell phone cameras on the polling station process and on their own ballots, as we at Daily Cloud had encouraged, thwarted what was supposed to have been a planned night of systematic cheating. Yes, the trifecta of all three branches of government is secure in the hands of MAGA and MAHA. And I'm just going to charge my phone so that I don't run out of charge while I'm reading this to you. Yes, everyone who battled for years for this outcome and who stood firm for our country deserves huge credit. It is human nature to gloat. It is tempting to revel in a partisan public way. It is human nature to, quote, spike the football, end quote. And this is what that looks like for those of you like me who don't really follow football that carefully. Conservative influencers on X are enjoying the victor's adrenaline surge. They post memes mocking, quote, liberal tears and, quote, liberal meltdowns. And there you see liberals are still crying. Nya, nya, nya has been the winner's instinctive reflex ever since we were all 8 years old. It's human nature. And yet, this heavy-handed partisan response to a major victory carries a risk that this amazing realignment, MAGA and MAHA, will squander the greatest political opportunity of our lifetime. Hey parents, I have an early Christmas and holiday gift for you. We've all been there. 1 minute your child is bouncing off the walls, perfectly healthy, and an hour later, this child is very sick. You feel helpless, and it can turn your plans upside down, especially on vacation. After thousands of customer requests, the wellness company has just launched the Kids Emergency Medical Kit. You no longer have to deal with emergency illnesses in a panic. Now you can have 6 critical medications at your fingertips to treat 20 plus illnesses for issues children have, such as strep throat, ear infections, lice, and respiratory illnesses. You can avoid urgent care and hospitals. The Kids Emergency Kit has been hand-selected by the wellness company's medical board and includes chewable amoxicillin, dissolvable ivermectin, and an optional EpiPen and more. This also includes a detailed guidebook guiding you step by step in emergencies. Ordering this kit is simple. Only parents can order for their children. Fill out an intake form and you will get a verification call for consent. Then it's delivered to your door. Don't wait till you're in the middle of a crisis and avoid late-night urgent care runs. Order your Kids Emergency Kit today and remove panic from your life. And if 1 or 2 of the prescriptions run out, there's a replenishment option to restock only what you need. Go to dailyclouthealth.com and grab your Kids Emergency Kit right now. Use code DailyClout to save up to $40 at checkout. These kits are only available in the USA. Thank you. It is also strategically unwise. A good friend who comes from the same world I do said recently that he too is concerned that MAGA in triumph is, quote, spiking the football, end quote. I asked what that phrase meant. He explained that it is the gesture that victorious football players make when they reach a goal. It means celebrating crassly, carelessly, and prematurely. He clarified that the gesture represents poor sportsmanship. I shared that while I felt that the Democrats had obviously descended into a spiral of estrogen-heavy lunacy, the Republicans now risk a testosterone-poisoned, equally blinding overreaction of their own. Psychological and emotional balance are always needed for a movement, and especially a unity movement, to thrive and evolve. Even as I feel the demons slithering back into their underground lairs, even as I recognize the sunlight of actual America reappearing behind the metaphysical clouds of the last 4 years, I have concerns. My concerns are that partisanship and gloating are leading both MAGA and MAHA to miss this gigantic, historic open door that has opened right in front of them. It won't stay open forever. MAGA and MAHA have the opportunity to solidify the largest potential realignment in American history, to create messaging, events, and speeches that would welcome into a new unity movement the majority of Americans, and that would make the rationale for the very existence of the Democratic Party obsolete. MAGA with MAHA has the opportunity to unite into one movement of citizens heading in roughly one aligned direction. Millions of people of patriotism and essential goodwill in America, whatever their policy differences. This realignment could radically restore and re-empower America and Americans, and could also unleash untold innovation, public safety and community mindedness, civic engagement, and cultural and material wealth. If MAGA, MAHA did this, that is, walked with maturity and grace through this historic, unprecedented, transpartisan open door, it would revitalize and transform the Republican Party, making the MAGA, MAHA movement into a big, unbeatable tent whose mission is to promote core American principles. This mission could replace the always marginal, always vulnerable status of the Republican Party, which has devolved, as has the DNC, into a checklist of ever more extreme policy positions. Some of the things Team MAGA MAHA is doing are perfect. It is perfect to showcase the extraordinary, formerly Democratic talents that are aligning in Mar-a-Lago. Images of President Trump with RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, and Elon Musk looking like a merry band of superheroes are fantastic. It is wonderful, too, to feature what looks like fun. Dancing patriotic wrestlers, fast food meals on board Trump's private plane, someone gifted on the comms team, Barron, it is someone young and witty, understands that images that seem to peek informally behind the curtain, along with images of a joyful, positive set of events, personalities, and activities, all attract support and are part of a powerful victory lap. The inner circle aboard President Trump's jet. And there you see all the cool kids. President Trump and entrepreneur Elon Musk at a UFC event at Madison Square Garden. This is from a few days ago. We should also applaud the fact that the comms team persuaded President Trump to host and, as I had urged, to feed opposition reporters such as Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough of MSNBC's Morning Joe in Mar-a-Lago. By speaking directly to the very people whom President Trump had derided as purveyors of, quote, fake news, end quote, even though hosting the enemy takes discipline and maturity, President Trump makes it much harder for those commentators to dismiss or mischaracterize him or his administration. But the glee and the superpower imagery, fun as it is to behold, miss some important facts. Every successful or failed candidate lives in an impenetrable information and group mind bubble. And that bubble creates its own self-reinforcing reality. Outside the cool-looking activities at Mar-a-Lago, there remain these needs for caution. 1, don't alienate independent and liberal women unnecessarily. You need them for MAGA and MAHA. Liberal women on TikTok are still weeping for a reason. They fear they will continue to lose essential personal choices. Trump surrogates should continue to reach out to America to showcase not only Trump's powerful women appointees, who are now many and almost all of whom are impressive, but also to showcase planned policies that will support and sustain women in their family and professional lives, and that will support their range of choices. When conservative male commentators mock these women's tears, they are torching what could be future support from a decisive swing constituency. And again, they are showing little understanding or empathy. 2, calm the F down with the social media DOGE hatchets and the memes about world wars. Elon Musk is a very cool addition to a mission, Department of Government Efficiency, to issue recommendations to make government more efficient. But his pronouncements, along with those of Vivek Ramaswamy on X and elsewhere about all the slashing that they will do and recommending to President Trump big cuts to the state, are starting to feel like the compulsive one-upmanship of 2 boys who have been empowered gleefully to tear down someone else's elaborate Lego village. This danger is where the bubble effect comes in. It may be a lot of fun in Mar-a-Lago to say to a tight victory drunk group late at night, hey, let's destroy whole government departments, and then to make the equivalent of a list on a napkin. But the stream of giddy, superficial pronouncements on social media about what is under the chopping block, and all of this from people who are not yet successfully inaugurated and have not yet met any of the humans on the teams whose lives they are racing to upend, feels to me scattershot, unstrategic, and immature. Indeed, without mission statements issued alongside of them, a lot of the pronouncements coming out of Mar-a-Lago right now, as exciting as they can be, feel scattershot and will be easy for citizens to overlook in the media melee. Ironically, the DOGE pronouncements on socials feel like the same kind of playing with human lives by out-of-touch, privileged elites that rightly lost the Democrats the country. Slow down, be thoughtful, issue a well-reasoned op-ed or even a position paper along with an op-ed and a press release for each department that you are hoping to destroy. Issue a detailed policy for dealing with the lives and mortgages of these millions of people, many of whom simply tried to serve their country as workers who will be let go, and be adult about it. People are already scared of an autocratic administration. Get some buy-in from the people whose reality you are about entirely to alter. Get some buy-in from the press. It is good to come into power wielding a Visigothic axe in some respects, and I recognize the strategic value of shock and even of brutality. But it is also good in other ways to show humanity and empathy and awareness that these people about to be put in Team Trump crosshairs are real people, many of whom live paycheck to paycheck, even as government workers, many of whom voted for you, many of whom tried to this day to do their best, even in the Department of Education or in other targeted agencies, whose lives and families' livelihoods are about to be upended. 3, write and publish your mission statements. I said this above, and being a trained media commentator and media consultant, I am repeating it because repetition is important. Write the op-eds. There is an incredibly laborious and counterproductive media strategy, it seems to me, in play out of Mar-a-Lago or out of the campaign or transition offices. President Trump himself or RFK Jr. or Vice President Vance are sent out live to make the case for this or that upcoming policy approach. This is better than not appearing and not taking questions, but it is an incomplete and ultimately burnout ensuring strategy. It is exhausting physically to go out and give interviews for various policy approaches, for one thing. No human being can sustain the physical effort, along with the unremitting effort of surviving or directing a transition effectively day after day. But also, respectfully, all three of these principles are less effective in person only than they would be in person and with some good, well-placed print op-eds. President Trump, though he's getting better and good video editing is helping, is far too discursive to make a sustained policy argument in a verbal-only format that can stick. Vice President Vance is incredibly effective verbally, but he is so occupied with shooting down verbal opposition that he's not being used to present a strong set of mission statements. And RFK Jr., whom I respect and admire, is so deeply knowledgeable about his subject matter that he can deliver a doctoral thesis verbally when a short, tight mission statement supported by op-eds would be much more effective in communicating a specific direction and rationale. For reasons I can't understand, the comms teams are not making use of the actual op-ed pages of legacy media. Hey everyone, it's Naomi Wolf. We are excited about our new sponsor, Native Path. Native Path's collagen formula is scientifically backed to increase bone mineral density, accelerate tissue recovery, reduce wrinkles, enhance hair thickness, and strengthen weak or damaged nails. Who wouldn't want more collagen with these benefits? So you can get an incredible 45% off today, plus free shipping. Every order comes with a 365-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it risk-free, and you really should. Are you interested in moving easily and independently without pain or stiffness? Do you want to look in the mirror and see a glow rather than fine lines and wrinkles? So you really need to find out about Native Path Collagen, made only with type 1 and type 3 collagen fibers, the two most important types that make up 90% of the collagen in your body. It is completely flavorless and can be added to anything. Coffee, I add it to smoothies, you can add it to oatmeal, and it makes it bioavailable, so it's absorbed more easily and mixes perfectly. It's kind of an amazing product. Honestly, I just started using it a few days ago. No fillers, no additives, no artificial sweeteners, and they third-party test for heavy metals. What is kind of amazing is that it really does. It makes me want to work out, which never happens. It has made me feel much more energetic, and it's I do struggle with the spinal issue, and I honestly have felt much more kind of buoyant and resilient since I began mixing Native Path collagen into my smoothie every day. So I can't praise this enough. I love it. There are 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, 8,000 5-star reviews, and a no-risk guarantee. That's the kind of product that we at Daily Clout love to recommend. A product that's tried and tested. I simply cannot recommend it enough. So go to getnativepath.com / daily clout. That's getnativepath.com / daily clout, and stock up. You will find it transformational. I have. And thank you so much, Native Path, for being our new sponsor. And thank you for supporting our wonderful sponsor, Native Path. These still represent the most powerful real estate in media. Are you making a list in Mar-a-Lago of DoD officials for possible courts martial? That is a pretty explosive trial balloon to float on socials or to leak to the networks. Now be disciplined and send the New York Times a well-written, well-reasoned, 1,000-word op-ed showing why that is de minimis according to our own legal system, rather than being an insanely composited enemies list drawn up to possibly lethal effect by vengeful Neanderthals with no respect for our Constitution and rule of law. Are you opposing President Biden's deranged okay of missile strikes by Ukraine against Russia? Thank God, right? President Trump popped up on video in my feed last week to say in language that a third grader can follow that he will, quote, stop World War III, end quote. That is very nice, but only minimally persuasive. How? How will he do that? And this format still gives me the impression of a world in warring states of chaos. Now be disciplined, be grown-ups. Send The Economist and The Washington Post and The Financial Times a series of well-reasoned op-eds in language that third graders, but also diplomats and international affairs experts can all understand. And yes, that voice is possible to achieve. President Reagan achieved it. About why President Trump's foreign policy approach is more likely to stabilize the region and to bring about lasting peace than is this last-minute Biden-esque escalation. 4, see how I'm structuring my talk, because I'm a trained media communicator. 4, lastly, where is the overall mission statement for MAGA/MAHA at all? I see a flurry of activity coming out of Mar-a-Lago, and it is exciting for sure to the base of each group. But where is the mission statement appeal to all Americans, the explanation of core values and goals? These too should be appearing in speeches and on op-ed pages. I know that now MAGA/MAHA can go around legacy media by simply popping up on socials or on independent podcasts, and that is exciting. But much as I value the new media, and Daily Clout is an example of it, it is not always the right platform for the mission statement essays or the calm, well-reasoned fireside chats that ultimately solidify the support and goodwill of all of America and that the American people deserve. Podcaster Joe Rogan is great for that spontaneous 3-hour interview, but this is not the format provided by an op-ed or published speech that can explain the point of MAGA/MAHA to undecideds or to the defeated. X is awesome for posting zingy memes or stream of consciousness aperçu. I love it for that purpose, but there is also a reason you come to me here on Substack, to understand in reasoned, well-documented, longer essays, op-ed page type essays, if op-ed pages would still publish me, what lies behind my thinking, posted in brief formats on social media. You come here not to be punched in the gut or seduced by a slogan, but to be reasoned to and reasoned with, to be persuaded the old-fashioned way. So by all means, President Trump and RFK Jr. go past the legacy media, but also get your Peggy Noonans fast into Mar-a-Lago. Get your great speechwriters who understand domestic and foreign policy, your versions of the Kennedys' highly educated speechwriter and advisor, Ted Sorensen, into Mar-a-Lago. Have these folks publish the op-eds and essays that are serious, explaining the reasoning and sound policy behind what can now seem like Sesame Street type cartoonish pop-ups of favorite insiders dropping what may appear at first to be potentially lethal or economically devastating or militarily rash bombshells in brief clips on social media or in leaked explosive headlines on the networks. Invite the op-ed editor of the Washington Post, disclosure, personal conflict for me, the Wall Street Journal, and yes, the New York Times to Mar-a-Lago. Invite the publishers of the Financial Times, USA Today, the Los Angeles Times. Give a serious speech about the war that is brief, and send the text to be reprinted in full in USA Today and the Washington Post. Give a serious speech about cutting whole departments and do the same. Give a serious speech about the planned courts-martial and do the same. You get it. Yes, you won the battle. Yes, you can tell the rest of the world to go to hell. Yes, you can play fun policy games with billionaires and cavort on socials. Your base will go crazy with the fun of it all. But will you win the war?
Did you know that there is nearly $1 trillion of infrastructure and pandemic funds that have yet to be spent? That's right. There is a massive amount of money that the lame duck Biden administration is pushing hard to spend in their last remaining months. If the president is able to push these funds out, we could see another prolonged inflation surge, just like during the COVID years. And I'm sure you remember the terrible effects that high prices had on most Americans. But there is a way out. A surge in prices can be beaten. A gold IRA from Birch Gold Group is the ultimate inflation hedge for your savings in such uncertain times as these. To see how to protect your IRA or 401k, you should get your free info kit on gold by texting the word Daily Clout to 989898. Birch Gold makes it seamless to roll over your retirement account while preserving its tax advantage status. Don't wait for the president's spending spree to tank the dollar further. Protect your financial future now. Text Daily Clout to the number 989898 for your free info kit from Birch Gold.
If you don't send out grown-up mission statements and speeches to serious people and places, even to the people and places that you hate, as well as wielding swinging Visigothic hatchets on social media, you risk winning the battle, but losing the war. And you risk losing the peace. And this is Ted Kennedy with his speechwriter and I believe also policy advisor Ted Sorensen. And here is President Ronald Reagan with his speechwriter, the brilliant wordsmith Peggy Noonan. If the party at Mar-a-Lago does not bring in some serious nonpartisan grown-ups to balance and lastingly articulate the mission of what can at times look a bit like a frat boy esprit de corps popping champagne corks at this point, you risk losing the biggest opportunity in modern American history to establish a majoritarian movement that can make the DNC into an afterthought of the history books. But if you do take my advice and do so, bring in your version of the Peggy Noonans, the Ted Sorensens of this generation, along with a parallel serious media strategy, you can solidify and move forward with a bought-in, persuaded America. You can build a majoritarian movement that is humane, that governs with empathy as well as with strength, that is oriented toward peace and freedom, that can explain itself and its beliefs, that can lastingly illuminate our nation's ideals, and that can draw on the best policies of all, generated from the brightest minds of left, right, and center, and that can, not least, also liberate and bring peace to the rest of the struggling, censored, and suffering world. And that is my essay, which is unsolicited advice to Trump and RFK Jr. And Vice President Vance for their communication with the rest of the world. I have to say, since I wrote it, which was a few days ago, I think that some of the message, either from me or from other sources, has gotten through a bit because there is a little less frat boy bombshell announcements on social media via people like Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk. And it does seem like a calmer and more measured media strategy. However, now I'm just freelancing, putting my political consulting hat on. And people are saying, agree. Deborah L. Bunger says, agree. I thought the same thing. Jasmine Justice says, I agree. We need to hold Trump and his team accountable and not get upset when people who know what they're talking about do. We cannot make excuses when they aren't doing what they promised. Vicky Oleski says, thank you for expressing the concerns regarding women, gay, straight, and all color, by the way. That is the color that is missing and underrepresented in MAHA. And by the way, I agree with that. I really think that MAGA and MAHA MAGA especially needs to have a very nuanced and clear position on LGBTQ issues. They can be quite heavy-handed, in my view, with not teasing out the difference between consenting, legal, same-sex families, same-sex relationships, same-sex marriages, versus the insanity of what's going on right now in Capitol Hill, which is getting a lot of press attention, with Congressperson Sarah McBride trying hard to get into the women's bathroom, and Representative Nancy Mace holding the line. But those are very different issues. And a lot of gay and lesbian and bisexual, and probably even transsexual or transvestite people. The word trans is a recent coinage, so I try not to use it because it's vague. There's an essay on that I'll share later. But basically, people who identify as non-binary, probably also many of them agree that, biological women have the right to their own spaces and girls have the right to their own sports teams. But whether they do or not, MAGA needs to say, this is a big tent. We welcome people of all backgrounds, all races. We're about freedom. We're not going to shun you for, adult consenting relationships, whether we approve of them religiously or not. I know there are a lot of points of view about that in hardcore Christian fundamentalist MAGA. God bless you. I don't share those views, but it's fine to say we may not agree with everyone, on their personal choices, but this is a big tent. We're about liberty. Welcome, right? We love you, right? That's, I believe, what MAGA and MAHA have to say. And that then peel off and we're going to go hard against, and we're going to protect girls and women in their personal spaces and in their sports. That's no contradiction, but they have to do a better job separating those points of view and those arguments, in my view. Let's see. So that's what Vicki Oleski had to say. Barry Atkinson, hi Barry, says, will Vice President Harris follow the rules of certifying the election as did Al Gore with G.W. Bush? Or will she seek a senator to object to Trump's election victory and cause absolute chaos? That is a great question. And my bet is on the absolute chaos that could still unfold. I know this is dumb or not rational, but I'm very intrigued by astrology, and I know that a lot of my Christian followers think I should not pay attention to it. And I recognize that people have ambiguous feelings about it, but Vedic astrology is a science that is very ancient. It's much more complex than Western astrology. And Vedic astrologers foresee problems with the inauguration that are going to last until March. So I don't know if that's true or not. Obviously, it's Vedic astrology. It's not, rocket science, whichever of those is more effective. But my gut also as a political analyst is that the defeated Soros ranks want to create delay and consternation and havoc and find a way to not have a normal inauguration. Also, the enemies of our country, who, as you know, I think are very much influencing both sides at this point, right? But clearly more the Democrats, want to cause havoc and just upend our peaceful democratic traditions, even if it's temporary, right? Like just upend the inaugural balls, just drag us into chaos culturally, because that undermines our ability to carry on as a strong republic, which is a lot of it's cultural, right, in our traditions. So I do expect more havoc. However, I do think that President Trump is doing something very smart, which is he is signaling a lot of, I talked about the Visigothic hatchet. He's signaling that there will be consequences if people mess with the election, for instance. And I think that's why we didn't have the planned cheating that I saw, ready to go on election day, because he was widely sending out the message that if he gets in, people are going to go to jail, or that either way, people are going to go to jail if they tamper with the election. So I think some of the things he's done are a show of force, like the DOD list of traitors, for courts martial. And I'm just reminding you, treason is a capital offense. I mean, people can face, electrocution and firing squads for treason. So that's not a trivial thing he did. I actually really approve of it, and but it needs explanation, right? It's not craziness. It's actually what our legal system calls for traitors, a trial, courts martial. It's a very serious offense. But I think that by signaling, and I'm not calling for violence, no one take my words out of context, but by signaling that there could be real consequences, investigations, Justice Department action, arrests, and so on for people who do wrong in this interim period, he is probably deterring a lot of havoc that I expected to see by now. Like by now, I expected to see riots in cities. I expected to see Tren de Agua activated. I expected to see, cyber attacks. And, the other shoe hasn't dropped yet. We're still a good 2 months, at least a little less than 2 months out of a successful inaugural. But I do think that his kind of Visigothic shows of force are deterring what had been plans for havoc, civic instability that people like Alex Jones and I have been predicting for a long time. That doesn't mean we're wrong. It means we're predicting what's planned. And that's why it's good to predict what's planned so that there could be a counter movement by the people who don't want that to come about. And that's what we're seeing now is the forestalling of havoc that has been planned. All right. Bulging Battery says, at Daily Cloud, children were killed by assault weapons at Sandy Hook. We need to ban assault weapons. Well, I've come a long way on my views about the Second Amendment. And there's an essay about the Second Amendment on my Substack, Outspoken. I don't agree with you anymore, but I do think that left and right together, I mean, that's the beauty of bipartisanship. You can get really good policies because most of the country is moderate, right? Moderate on gun rights, moderate on abortion. And so it's crazy that we have these two extremes, having all the guns, having no guns, having all the abortions, having no abortions, when really bipartisanship has such a beautiful promise for better policies, better outcomes by bringing, those conversations together. Lloyd Brown says, President Trump is making some bad picks. I hope he knows what he's doing and not working against diehard MAGA people who never question him when it comes to the jab and possible ID creation. And I agree that there are some surprising nominations in the last week. A lot of people on the MAHA side are shaken. I think that I think two things. People want to believe that electing their guy, whether it's Trump or RFK Jr., is the end of their job. And it's not the end of their job. If we go back to our couches and surfing on Netflix, then all the lobbyists move in and twist, put terrible pressure on all of these people. And our voices are not at the table, giving them, the excuse of, I can't, do what you want in protecting the PrEP Act because all these people are holding my feet to the fire. Right now, it is a time of, and I don't have inside knowledge about why these picks are taking place. If I did, I would tell you as a disclosure. I do admire RFK Jr., and I have to say I respect Trump a lot more than I thought I did a year or two ago. He gets things done. I think he's probably stopping World War III even as we're speaking, for which I thank God, right? But you've got to remember, not being passive, that the transition is a time of unbelievable deal making and horse trading. And there can be horrible, no one's going to get their wish list, right? This is what I know from just my life in and around the highest level of politics. No one, not MAGA, not MAHA, it's not Christmas Day. No one can, not Trump, not RFK Jr. Having a mandate is a good first step, but even so, no one assuming office can give their constituents literally everything the constituents want. And that's really important to understand. And especially not if we go home and stop putting pressure on. So I don't like a lot of these picks I'm seeing. But what I'm aware of is that the most important thing is the confirmation hearings. And the most important thing is to get RFK Jr. in, to get Trump's picks in. And sometimes Trump will be throwing in, like, I'm guessing, right? I don't have any inside knowledge. I can see that Trump would say, okay, I'm going to throw in a really kind of soft pharma in a Surgeon General role so that you guys shut up and I can get RFK Jr. in and inaugurated so he can do what he needs to do with a measure of power as head of HHS. That's a guess, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't keep vocalizing and fighting and putting pressure. Of course you should. But you do have to understand you won one battle, which is the election, those of you who support this team. And if you didn't support this team, I'm just sharing why a lot of people did. And my essay that I just read is to solidify the support of those who don't support this team, right, for next time, and also for the good of the country. But, this is not a time to relax or expect Christmas Day that you unwrap your presents. It's a time to get ready for the next battle, which is the confirmation hearings, and to mobilize so much grassroots support that President Trump gets his picks without having to do horse trading. All right. I hope that's clear. Revman Solution said, of course, this doesn't apply to AIPAC. I mean, I hope it does apply to AIPAC. America first. I as a Jew, I'm very glad that, we've got a president back in power who did more than the last administration to bring about peace for Palestine and for Israel in the Middle East during his last administration. It's definitely a relief at a time of so much anti-Semitism. The dog is trying to get into my lap. For me to have a clear friend of Israel, in power, but I don't think he's not a friend of Palestine. I think that he's a friend of no wars. And that's why they keep trying to assassinate him, because there's so much money to be made from endless war. So I would like to see America first in every policy, and I want to see peace in the Middle East. And someone else said, what of Israel? Middling Rose says, someone is sabotaging your talk, too noisy. Is that true? Are you guys hearing a lot of noise in my talk? There is a dishwasher running behind me. But other than that, there shouldn't be a lot of noise in my talk. All right, this is Loki. He has a new haircut. You have seen him in his fluffy mode. Now he's in his haircut for the holidays mode. And that's it for me, unless you have other questions. I mean, I guess I would just end with some more unsolicited advice to Team Trump and Team RFK Jr. in the week ahead. There's a media vacuum, and that's always dangerous. I mean, there's the stream of news is about Trump's picks, and that's thank you. Elspeth Young Heron says, my talk is adorable. He really is. He won't let me do podcasts without sitting on my lap, which I appreciate. The news stream is about Trump's picks. That's normal. But what that means is that in the absence of other forward, assertive media storytelling from both Trump's camp and RFK Jr.'s camp, it means that there's a wide open target on each of these nominees by the legacy media, that legacy media can pick apart every one of these nominees and undermine President Trump and his selections in time for the hearings. and that is unwise. And I think there's especially a media vacuum, well, from both camps, right? So what I would love to see is a less reactive approach to media. I'd like to see each team say, okay, this week it's going to be agriculture. This week it's going to be about everything RFK Jr. did to clean up the Hudson River. This week it's going to be about, listening to moms across America. That's a great headline, Moms Across America. And bipartisan town halls, listening to parents. What are they worried about? What's on their minds? Parents are freaking out in this country, and that's a big reason MAHA joined MAGA, is the parent vote. Everyone's upset, and it's going to be a bunch of different things. It's going to be school meals, it's going to be propaganda in classrooms, it's going to be why aren't kids reading at 5th grade levels anymore, or doing math, but people have to. That would be a great week. Even though education policy is decided locally, it's great to show the principals listening. It could be a week on what is Trump's foreign policy going to look like, right? But we're not seeing any of that. We're just seeing, it's like badminton. They lob it back, they lob it back, they lob it back, they lob it back, but they never get ahead of it respectfully. And the reason I keep stressing this is, and let me just talk about myself. I've been canceled multiple times at the highest levels, 3 times now, at a national and international level. I've been canceled. But guess what? I'm still here with 25 million impressions a month just on X alone. Why am I still here? Why can't they cancel me? They can't cancel me because I know how to do media strategy. And what that means is, as they're canceling me from one direction, I'm putting out positive messages, positive information, things you need to know, ways to keep your family healthy, important debates, important analysis in another direction. And that bulletproofs me, right, to some extent. I mean, I may not have all of the platforms back that I had before I was most recently globally canceled, but I have a whole bunch of new platforms, and I'm going around the old platforms. And that wouldn't have happened, right? Imagine if in 2021 or 2019 or 2000, the 3 times I was, nationally or internationally canceled, all I had done was say, no, I'm not crazy. No, I'm not crazy. No, I'm not crazy. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Over and over and over again, you wouldn't know me except in the have you stopped beating your wife kind of, no, I don't beat my wife kind of question, right? But you know me in a bunch of other ways, and those of you who've always followed me never lost faith in me, or I hope not for very long, because I kept my eyes on the prize, right? I kept not turning left or right. I mean, not responding unnecessarily to the criticism, except to correct it if it was factually wrong, everywhere I could, but to keep going forward with positive, important information. And that's, and also a theme, like, what's my mission statement? You know what my mission statement is, right? It's Constitution first, and women and children. That's my mission statement in a nutshell. What's their mission statement? I wish I could tell you, America first, that's wonderful. What does that mean? Every week we should be hearing from President Trump or his surrogates or op-eds, not even written by him, they don't have to write them, about what is MAGA's thesis statement, right? What's its mission statement when it comes to agriculture, when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to the border, right? More than what are we going to do about it? What do we believe? That's what. Okay, now you guys are getting to the core of why I find this so important, this kind of work. President Reagan wasn't just a great president because of his policies, even though I objected to him at the time because I was an idiot, right? I was a young Marxist, proto-liberal, or neo-Marxist. I didn't even realize how Marxist. But he was a great president because in every speech, and this was Peggy Noonan, right? But it was President Reagan also, knowing how smart that was as an actor, right? Understanding the emotion behind the script, right? In every speech, they explained why it mattered. It wasn't just a policy to make peace with the post-Soviet Union, right? With Gorbachev, or leading up to the end of the Soviet Union. It was beautiful speeches explaining what America was in Reagan's vision, which aligned with what a lot of people felt like America was, and then how that flowed into foreign policy related to Reagan over and over and over again. And by the way, that's what you always get with me. Look at my essays, right? You may agree with me or not agree with me about the conclusions I reach about abortion or gun rights or any of it, but I always share my thesis statement. I always share my mission statement. What's the core value that's driving me? I always let you know what it is, and then I show you how, in my view, it plays out in this or that policy or decision or conclusion or insight, okay? People crave that, and we all need that. That's leadership, right? And America is based on that. Otherwise, if we don't have that thesis statement that we stand for, the Constitution, freedom, and the rule of law, what are we? And then we can extend that to unity, right? In those values, what are we? We're just a parking lot with a lot of natural resources, right? And by the way, that's why Steve Bannon appeals way across political lines. And that's why he and I kind of understood each other, even if we totally don't agree with each other, at a core basis, because he's always explaining the mission statement, the core values, and reminding us what our core values are as a nation and as a people, because around the world, people want freedom and human rights and dignity and agency, as he puts it, right? So RFK Jr. and Trump and their comms teams, hopefully for both comms teams that are very tried and tested in this space. You can't be amateurs in this space. If RFK Jr. and Trump think it's been difficult, it's only going to start being difficult in, now leading up into the inauguration and then into the confirmation hearings. I mean, the worst is going to be brought out, unbelievable opposition research. I'm sure, I'm just guessing. I have no inside knowledge. So you can't have amateurs. You can't have people who have not already been PR experts in confirmation hearings. You've got to have people with relationships. I'm so sorry. Dog, you have to get off my lap for a minute. I'm so sorry, guys. I didn't turn off my phone. You have to have people who know what they're doing, who fought the fight, who have the relationships with the press, and who know how to write a beautiful speech, who know how to write a beautiful op-ed, who know how to explain these very important things to the American people, and who know how to send out these positive stories, positive messages, positive images. It's not a hiatus. I know they're very busy with the transition, but if you have a positive communications strategy between now and the inauguration, you solidify grassroots constituent support so that people are calling their senators during the confirmation hearings and saying, get Tulsi Gabbard in, get RFK Jr. in. I want these people to serve the president, and that building up those powerful media stories makes people unassailable, right? And again, I don't mean to keep kind of saying, look at me, right? Because I've been through a lot, and my Wikipedia page is still ridiculous. But I guess I'm just trying to say, with enough positive storytelling, they cannot kill you in the media. They can't do it. So I'm a big believer in it, and also in the wisdom of the American people, that if you make a reasoned, healthy appeal to their core values, they will align with you, whether they think they like you right now or not. All right, I need to sign off. This is Loki with his beautiful haircut. Loki, say goodbye to everyone. Look at those eyes. Isn't he so... Aren't those eyes just melting your soul? I didn't used to be a dog person, and then we got our first dog and my life changed. But thank you. Remember to support our sponsors, Bioptimizers. Magnesium Breakthrough gives you deep, deep sleep, evens out your stress level, These are very stressful times. They haven't stopped being very stressful times. And most of us don't get magnesium, good for your bones, good for your energy levels. Bioptimizers.com/daily clout. Remember to go to getnativepath.com/daily clout for collagen, hair. Yes, I love you too, Loki. Hair, skin, nails. I turned 62, and of course, I'm not worried about it because I'm taking my collagen and my magnesium and my spike support. But go there and you can get 25% off. Fantastic. And twc.health/daily clout for your spike support and also for your emergency medicine kit. We used these twice last week. I got bitten by a tick. I used the antibiotics. I was not beholden to the medical system. And I think Brian got a cut as well. And we used the emergency kit there too. We use it all the time. You don't want to be without it. It's very, very empowering. twc.health/daily clout. Support us on Daily Clout. We can't do this without you. Support me on Outspoken, on Substack, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Say goodbye, Loki. Bye, everyone. Oh.